Hello and welcome back to the White Room. Hello, Mariah.
Hello, Simon.
How are you? We just heard wonderful music by Jonas, the Rave, our friend from Ghent, accordionist. And yeah, how are you?
I'm very good, and that chord, that one chord that comes into the drums, it makes me laugh every time. And every time when I laugh, and I know I'm in the recording, and then my laugh turns into this cinematographic kind of evil chuckle. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but that's what happens every time. So I'm good. How are you, Simon?
I'm great. I'm back in Germany. We came back from Argentina on Friday. Our flight was delayed, so we didn't experience these hard, cold days. I saw you enjoyed the cold and the snow and the ice. Ice skating, is it true?
It is true, and it Simon, it's the most beautiful thing you can do in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
one of the most beautiful things you can do in the Netherlands. Very, very special.
So we didn't do that. I remember as a child sometimes ice skating, but I mean, I don't know. Is it true that before there was more ice in winter, or is it just like childhood nostalgia?
But yeah, it is true though.
It's true, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah,
it's
it's true. I mean, there's a wave. You can see it very well in the years that there was the so-called 11 cities skating tour, which is a famous Dutch tradition. It goes 200 kilometers, passing by 11 cities in the north of Holland, and you can see that when it's a good winter, as they say, then there is an Elfstedentocht because it has to freeze a lot, and you can see that there's a bunch in the 60s, and then a bunch in the 50s, and then only in the 80s again. Anyways, it's kind of a marker of how cold it is, and it's been a while. Let's put it like that.
I think one can find these data in, I always wanted to mention this website, Our World in Data. Do you know that?
Oh, no, that sounds very interesting.
It's incredible. One of the topics that I opened up was the scientific approach, no, or the approach through facts, let's say, no. And this website, Our World in Data, it is a real treasure if you are interested in scientific data. So, be it the spreading of coronavirus, or how many people get which average salary in which country, it's all on this website. You can look for a lot of different kinds of topics and data statistics, which are all even explained and beautifully illustrated by graphics, and you can change it. You can select countries and compare countries. So it's an incredible website, I have to say. And if you know how to use it, how to read it, how to use it, then it's actually very powerful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Different ways how to see the world. Huh?
Yeah, this is just our world in data. There's different our world in other things, in images, but this website is about the data.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So one can look there what are the temperatures, in Holland or
I
in
tried
Germany.
it.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know, but I think that there are temperature statistics.
Right. Yeah, probably.
So we came back from Argentina, and we are here now, and we are in 10 days of quarantine, working from the computer, basically staying in the house. And afterwards we will see. Today it's the 24th episode of The White Room already. I wondered if we should talk about what this podcast is sometimes. I think we can always invent some new description of what this podcast actually is. So maybe because there's maybe some new listener and she or he is listening to this the first time, and what is this all about? And so The White Room is basically a podcast born out of curiosity, and a very naive curiosity, just to talk with each other and to talk about our métier, or how you say, our craft, what we of course at the moment long for, what we desire, what we also practice but we cannot execute, we cannot present at the moment. So the craft of performance, but from a point of view of a practitioner, not from a critic's point of view, but also sometimes trying to be critical, and I think deeply personal. So it is every episode is somehow driven by personal questions, and deeply egotistical and individual questions that either concern me or haunt Mariah or the other persons that we invite sometimes. So, and we tell to each other what we found maybe during the last 2 weeks. As now, as we are having this 2 weeks rhythm, every 2 weeks we are trying to make this happen live. So this will also change a little bit the form of the form and the content of the work of the podcast, because we can have a fixed date and also say, what did we find? What was going on in our mind or in our practice, in our work in the meantime, and make always a little update. I have brought a little topic, it's just a follow-up of the last time, because we were speaking about, of course, the pandemic and the crisis, and the lack of, for instance, strategy in a whole sense, politically, and it's getting worse every day. But for instance, today in the radio, I heard 1 week ago that they were going to issue free antigen rapid tests for everybody. I heard that. I was really, what? Mm-hmm. In Germany, I was really, wow, great. But today I heard, oh no, they're postponing this decision because of open questions, or I don't know what. It's just going on in a confusing way. And last time we were talking about these kinds of things, and also about studies that have been made on contagion of the virus in theaters. And you were speaking about some study, and I was also looking up some study, and I wanted to refer here very shortly what I found. Just one study, which was made in Dortmund, in the concert hall in Dortmund. So it's a big hall, it's a big institutional theater concert hall, and it was made by the Heinrich Hertz Institute together with the Umweltbundesamt, which is the office of Federal Office of Environment, let's say, no? And they put, as far as I understood, they made it not with real people, they made it with puppets. The puppet was called Oleg. I don't know why they chose this Polish name, but a dummy, no? A dummy, like as a representative of a spectator. And he was 3 days in the concert hall. And simulating human breathing, and the spreading of aerosols. And then they put him in different positions and with and without mask. I don't know really how it worked, but maybe they just pumped some air and the simulated breathing. So the results are that wearing a mask and with enough fresh air coming through, so with enough ventilation of fresh air, so that means, I think, every 20 minutes a complete change of the air. That's very big, no?
And also the filters, or not using filters?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything. I think they're just working with fresh air. So they take out the old air and they put fresh air in. So, and if this dummy wears a mask and there is this fresh air coming in, then there is no influence or no contagion possible whatsoever. I mean, I don't know how many percent, but the probability. Wow. But so, and that could be all the neighboring places, all the neighboring seats. So you could put a full theater with ventilation, and nothing will happen.
Oh my God!
So
when was this done?
It was done on the 12th of January this year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this was one. So with the mask and with the fresh air, so you can you can fill the theater and there will happen nothing. What is interesting is that if the room is higher and bigger, no, so to speak, it already disperses a lot of the aerosols. No?
Right.
And if then there is added the ventilation, then there is a lot of, it's very efficient, very good to. The risk is very low. If you can also do it without mask, they say you should keep the front seat of the one that is seating, the front seat empty. So it would be like a chess field, no? Always the black and then nothing and then, no? Like a chess field. And then you could be with half the persons without mask.
That's still good.
Yes. Of course, then in the foyer and in the hall, I mean not in the hall, where the people meet, toilets and everything, there people need to wear masks.
Again. Yeah.
And also the doors are opened during the concert, so that there is also more ventilation. And so conclusion is that the concert hall can, with the ventilation concept and with these kinds of measures, there is a super spreading event is not possible. No?
Wow.
Of course, maybe somebody would say now, still there's the question how the people get there, no? But
yeah, and then there's the question of the new English variant, which still...
That's true. So we can put all this in the garbage. Maybe.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I actually, I mean, from what I understand, the numbers about this R factor, how fast it spreads, is actually much lower than they initially reported on this English mutation. But it seems that you can say and report this many times, but the government will not go back once they have grasped a good high number, it's very difficult to go back in the predictions.
Yeah, I don't know really, and that's also not really our expertise. I think what is true is that we are fighting against the virus also through vaccines and through the measures, and that means it's almost beautiful to think that it's how the process of the aleatory process, so the the accidental process of mutation. No, it's our measures against this virus are putting a pressure on this virus. So the variants of the virus survive who can overcome these measures. No, so there will be always some different, because there's also a South African one and whatever, and
totally.
and
it's also what viruses
crazy.
do.
Yeah,
it's what they do.
And it's like mistakes,
unexpected.
Yeah. There was a beautiful tweet. I will bring it for the next time. A beautiful tweet by a mathematician who makes a great podcast in German about the numbers of COVID, together with another podcaster. And every week they look at the numbers, but they are two nerds, no? So one mathematician and one computer guy, and they look at the numbers and speak about the numbers, and really, and it's very interesting. And he wrote a tweet, the world according to, or from the perspective of the virus. And it was very, very, very interesting. But I will bring it for the next time.
Yeah.
Because it's incredible incredibly, how do you say? It's not really easy for a virus to survive, because everything is against it. So this is how the tweet is working, the story. So it's really, really most of the viruses die, and only some die in the sense of they dry out or they vanish. But some survive. But it's really not easy. Everything is against it. Poor little virus.
Poor virus. Damn it. Yeah.
So, next topic is that last time we were speaking about a small project of ours, of Studio 7 Theatre, but also with you, Mariah. And so the story of this is that we had a project last year and also in 2019 with a theater group from Amsterdam called Sit Theater, colleagues of ours, and it was called Choose and Dare. It was a project for like a youth exchange project in theater. So originally we would have a group of young performers, students or of theater, or students in the school, pupils, and we would go to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam people would come to us, and we would make 2 nice festivals out of that, no? And then the pandemic hit, and we could not do any of these activities. So it was all changed, and we did the first part of these encounters online. And so we met the Amsterdam people, and they met us through online tools, and we also made work together. So we rehearsed, and we also made 2 performances. One which was still happening live in Amsterdam with our participation through virtual tools, and the other on YouTube. So it was only a stream. And this project this project started very differently with a different idea, and now it's very open, because then we got some money for that, and we asked the fund if we could adjust our project and just concentrate on this on the possibilities of the working online. And they said yes. So we are now in the fortunate position to have to do something, and we came up with an idea of hopefully one of the last online events this year, because afterwards there will wait a glorious summer for us. I don't really know, but maybe yes. But we thought that we could, with this project and with our resources, offer something to basically all the performers that are around in Europe or even beyond. It does not really matter. And what could we offer is an idea out of the experience that we had until now with the online tools and with the online world, an idea to come together for a kind of a collective or collaborative laboratory online. And what it is about, it is actually about coming together and experiment how to work on dramaturgies and on theater through online tools with a text. So with the basis of a theatrical text. That means that we will have we would have a starting point which we can use to interpret or to find various answers to. And the whole project will be called the Easter Village, because we, together with Mariah also, we found it that this image of a village, of a virtual village coming together and experimenting together, learning from each other, would be the right title, the right image for that project. And Easter Village, because it will take part during the Easter week. So it will start more or less on Sunday, the Sunday before Easter Sunday.
28th of March, for those of you who don't have your Easter dates, ready. 28th of March.
Yeah, it will start then and it will end on the evening of the Saturday before Easter, more or less.
3rd of April.
Yes, and it will not be a full-time workshop like where you work 8 hours a day through Zoom or something. No, it will be something different. It will depend strongly on the people who are interested to come. Our image is that of a village, so that we come together for a big village gathering, and we kind of speak of the project and speak of this text, of the topic of this text. The text it's called the March. So from marching, not the march, from an Argentinian writer. It is a small theater piece, a short theater piece, a one-act piece, which tells basically the story, or it's not really a story, it's just a situation of always people marching and getting shot at. And when they get shot at, then another one, a new one appears and starts marching again. So this is basically the drama of it. Yeah. And of course we connect a lot of questions to that. Why are they marching? Or why are we marching? Why can't they stop? Who is shooting? What are they marching to? No? What does the future hold for us? How can we change something? So this is all, it's not all in that text, but we can use this text just as a springboard to find ideas and forms to work with. The form in which we would like to propose to work would be in like families, so in little units in the village, where we can also, everybody in his or her own time that you want to spend can take part, and in the end somehow, or having also moments where everybody comes together, and in the end preparing something, some event in the end of this week, prepare some kind of event where we can also invite spectators. Yeah. Does it sound very abstract?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. No.
Like always.
I'm kidding. No, it's not abstract. I mean, it is abstract in a way because it hasn't happened yet. So for now, it's just ideas and questions and and the text, and then. But I've been part of a couple of webinars and hackathons this past year, which were organized even more loosely, I would say, that really following a radical open space way of really putting it to every participant to find their way, put their topics up, gather their crew, start working, and then there's these like checkpoints, as they call them, where you gather together and you have to maybe present the first sketch of your project, and it's incredibly stressful and chaotic and wonderful because you get so fired up on your own responsibility. That I'm very happy that it sounds abstract right now, because I think you're absolutely right. It has to come from the people that will arrive together in this village, and there's no at this point we prepare some lines, some materials, but then we all have to run with it together, and maybe create some moments of chaos, or maybe there will be flocking together of people that are fired up by the same desires or ideas, and this self-organizing on the web. It's very challenging, but also very fun.
Yeah, that's basically the spirit of it, as you said, and we really invite everybody. So it's also, there is no charge. It's just, there's no fee or something. It's just your interest, your dedication to spend some time together for this week. It can also be different forms or different amounts of time that you invest. And also it's towards getting to know each other and maybe forging or finding new connections. No, so to have some, of course, like every meeting, to increase to make a little bit bigger or more visible, more tangible the network that we have. No.
Exactly. And I think it's also nice to mention that it's not only for theater performers or directors or maybe writers, but that definitely those of you who are maybe busy with coding or with the technical aspects of theater making, or are wondering about virtual scenery, or about how to do very creative ways of marketing, how to spread the word in different ways that fits these new forms that we are growing together. I think all of these expertises are fantastic to have in the village, because if you have a village of people who only are able to dance, what will you eat? Or if you only have people who bake bread, then what will you wear? So one of our mottos was it takes a village to raise a child, and we shaped it a little into it takes a village to raise something new. Because of course we will not exactly raise a child, but who knows what. But it also takes a lot of different people to make that village work, and the theatrical village is no different in that aspect.
So this is the invitation, and you can take part by writing to us, or I will put the information on our website. It's just one little note. I want to take part, and my name is this and this, and then we will get into conversation, and we are happy to hear from you.
Great. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this, actually. playing around in the village.
Yeah, and maybe in the end, yeah, we will even witness a resurrection. Who knows?
Oh.
First, we have, of course, there is death, but then there is a resurrection.
You had another topic, Simon, that made me very, very curious to hear about this person.
This is actually my main topic today.
Yeah.
So on the 8th of February, which was exactly the last time that we were recording and streaming, Jean-Claude Carrière died. And that is, I mean, a lot of people die, and especially a lot of, in the last years, a lot of important people, Leonard Cohen, David Bowie, whatever, no? A lot of people.
Chick Corea.
A lot of people die all the time also. Unfortunately, that's how life works. But Jean-Claude Carrière is maybe I wanted to talk about him because somehow he connects a lot of things for me, and is very interesting for us to talk about. So do you know him?
No, I don't.
No, you don't. But do you know the film Cyrano de Bergerac?
Yes, I do.
Do you know the film films by Luis Buñuel?
Yeah, it's a while ago. I could not.
He's a writer.
Yeah.
He was a writer. He wrote scripts for films, and he also wrote
a screenwriter.
And he also wrote. He was also a playwright and a normal writer. So it's different things why he's important to me and why I think he's important to us. It's like a red line through some of the, for me, most important directors. And these are, for instance, Luis Buñuel and Peter Brook, because he worked with both of them for an extended time. And I have a book by him, which I love very much, which I will introduce a little bit later. So he was a writer, and he wrote these scripts, and he was fascinated by the narrating. No, so he was a great narrator of stories, and a great inventor and narrator of situations, of images, and let's say a very concrete mind, a very open mind, and with a lot of curiosity on a lot of fields. Now, I first encountered him when I was seeing the Mahabharata from Peter Brook. Mahabharata is this gigantic Indian epos. Yeah. And Peter Brook, the theater director, in the 80s made a theater performance of the whole Mahabharata, and it lasted 9 hours. So he worked with a crew of actors, and he made a theater production which he performed live, and this experience lasted 9 hours. And Jean-Claude Carrière was the playwright, so they worked together on the script, on the text of this Mahabharata. And afterwards they made a movie out of it, which lasts 5 hours, and I can really recommend to everybody to see it, because I think it's on YouTube. See this movie. It's an incredible. It's an incredible play or play made into a film. It works really good, and the text is really good. So, and this quality, then I watched the films of Buñuel, and I found that he was also working with Buñuel, and there is where I got more and more interested on Jean-Claude Carrière himself, and I like very much the way he approaches the stories, the texts, and also somehow, life or or big questions. Now, because it's a very, it's also a very humorous approach, or not humorous, but it's a light approach, and also at the same time, a serious approach. No, I brought some clips. I was preparing for this podcast, I was looking at some interviews with him. I found a lot of things in French because he's of course French, but and I did not find so much in English. But I would like to maybe go on with that, and we can talk a little bit about that. So this is more about his relation with Buñuel. I mean, why am I fascinated so much about Luis Buñuel is, I don't really know. I think he has a lot to say for us today, the films. I'm a big fan of his films, of all of his films. Buñuel started as a director and made a surrealistic short movie in the 20s or 30s. And then another one, but then he was kicked out of France, and then he did not make movies for 20 years or something. It's very mysterious what happened then in this time. Maybe it was in the Spanish Civil War or something. Then he appeared in Mexico and started making films there. And and then he started making films, realistic films that were made really technically good, no? And were really like shot on time and really efficiently made. But they had a certain touch to it also. And with these films, he started to make a little bit money and reputation, and then he started to allow himself back into this surrealistic notions. But somehow Luis Buñuel, he embodies a kind of, in his later years, films like The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie or Obscure Object of Desire, or also a little bit older films like Diary of a Chambermaid, these things. He embodies some kind of a surrealistic thinking or a curiosity for dreams and for the unconscious, which is, I don't know how to say, more grounded or more mature than even the surrealists in the 20s. So more mysterious even. I don't really know how to explain that. But I find there is a lot of, it is, when you see the films of Buñuel, it's like, it's so, there is also, if there are strange and mysterious things that you don't understand, there's a lot of necessity to it. So it's not like it's just there because it's strange, but it has a certain function that you cannot understand. And this is really touching. So this relationship between Jean-Claude Carrière, the writer, and Luis Buñuel, the director, I find very interesting. And with his clips, I want to a little bit dive into that, because Jean-Claude Carrière liked to talk about that relation. They had a certain relation, no? So, do you want to interject something, or I just start?
No, I'm listening. It's fascinating and very curious for the clips.
Okay. So Jean-Claude Carrière describes shortly about meeting Buñuel. He was a very young writer, and he was introduced to Buñuel by some other people who sent him to Cannes, to the film festival, where so a producer sent him to Cannes because Buñuel was looking for a French writer, and he encounters Buñuel in a hotel.
Buñuel was sitting, I remember, at the terrace of the hotel, speaking with some friends. At 1 o'clock, punctually, he got up, said goodbye, and went to me. "Are you Mr. Carrière?" "Yes." "How are you?" First, and let's go to the dining room and let's have a lunch. And I was extremely, intimidated. You can imagine being for the first time alone with Buñuel. And the first question was looking at me like this: "Do you drink wine?" So I said, "Not only," which is the truth, "not only I drink wine, but I am from a winemaker family." "Oh," he said, that was really a good point. He said later, if you had been, a useless writer, at least we could have talked about wines.
So these stories, no? Okay, so they encountered, and they started to work together. And this is, I don't know, I heard it many times. So this working process was very particular. So when working on a new film, they first put a lot of time on working on the script. Apparently, Buñuel would not improvise filming during the shooting, would not change things or so much things during the script, on the script during filming, but they would spend a lot of time working on the script alone, together, like two people, Buñuel and Carrière. And they would go to somewhere far away, like to south of Spain, or to be in a hotel and write together. So have several weeks of writing of the script. And there he describes this process and the rituals, that accompany the process.
We used to work in the morning 3 hours, in the afternoon 3 hours, and at night I would take 2 hours to write as a scene what we have been talking about during the day. And every morning the first thing was to tell one to the other his dreams. And it was the beginning of the work, you start with dreams. Of course, sometimes you dream and sometimes you don't. So, and I knew a phrase by André Breton, the Pope of Surrealism, saying about somebody, this man is a bastard, he never dreams. So you'd better have dreams, I remember. So, from time to time I was inventing some dreams, trying to be as far as possible from the story. And but apparently he did accept this invention, because this invention comes also from something unconscious, probably, So that was the first. The second was to look at the work of the day before, to read again what I had typed on the typing machine, and to discuss what we had done yesterday, and then to go to keep going. But we had two rules, not at the very beginning, but it came slowly. One was at the end of the afternoon, around 5:30, we would stop working for half an hour. We would stay, each of us, in our room. In this half an hour, we had the obligation every day to invent, each of us, a story. Long, short, whatever, in relation with the script or not. And then we would meet in the bar, of course, to have a drink before the dinner, and we would tell each other the story we have been inventing. That was a ritual. I don't know, thousands of stories, that crossed the air between Buñuel and me all along 20 years. It was very... And sometimes one of these short stories was in a gag, a word, a short moment, would take place in the film. And that was like an athlete training his body. Yeah. Was training the imagination.
It's a discipline.
The imagination is, our brains, is very brilliant sometimes, but he has a tendency, whatever the brain, to be lazy, to do as little as possible. So you have to, from time to time, to persecute and insist too much.
Yeah, this is the first clip about the working process.
So nice.
I find a lot of beautiful. Yeah,
very, very beautiful. It's interesting how close it is to the training, this and the rhythms of physical work and creation.
Yeah, I find it. But the question is actually, how is it possible to have such time now, to be able to go and to dedicate really the whole day to this, and then this beautiful structure, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and then you have this kind of every day the same, but you really focus on giving each other something new, of responding, and
yes, very much,
and to not be disturbed by anything else. No,
yeah.
Is it a feature? Is it really something which is today not more, is today more difficult because of, for instance, a smartphone? Or was it always difficult?
No, it is always difficult, I think. It have nothing to do with smartphones or not. I think this is a very good example of how what it means to have a practice and to stick with it, and how they are even speaking about the muscles of the brain and of the imagination, and it's not different than the muscles of the body. They have to be trained.
Yeah. So there is another part of this working process, one of the inventions that they made to keep on working.
But there was another thing that we did all the time from the very beginning. We invented a couple of petits bourgeois, French petits bourgeois, middle class French, Henri and Georgette, you know. And this couple was always with us in my room where we were working, you know. 2 empty chairs, and they were there. And from time to time, we would ask them what they thought. They were not stupid at all. Anyway, they had come to see a Buñuel film. And our only purpose was to keep them in the theater until the end of the film, you know. If they are going to leave, very bad for us, you know. So Henri and Georgette were always there, and I would, for instance, ask, what do you think of this, Georgette? Ah, all right, okay, so, and so on. And I remember sometimes, a few times, I'm proposing an idea. Without answering, Buñuel gets up, takes all his papers, files, pens, you know, and goes to the door, walks to the door, and says to the empty chair, "Come, Georgette, come along." This film is not for us. and then he would go out of my room, you know, and then he would come back. And you know, the fact that we have the invisible presence of 2 possible spectators was extremely interesting to us, you know. If I wanted to say something to Buñuel or Luis to me, passing through Henri and Georgette was very useful. Very useful.
Wow.
It's not only, it's something, this, last time I said, no, artificiality, no? So something is connected there when I said last time, only artificiality can save the theater. There is something also in these games and in these playfulness and in these detours that one takes, no? So that
totally.
you don't go, you don't say directly to the other one, no, I don't like this idea, or no, or whatever, but you invent like external beings that you that serve as a kind of advocate diaboli or whatever. And
but they also very much remind me of Eugenio Barba's 5 imaginary spectators.
Yeah.
Always has in front. And I think what is so great about these things is that, you know, this couple, because you can, because they are imaginary couple, and you can kind of imagine how someone would react, but they focus your imagination, they channel it through a very specific lens. You know, so it's not anymore just you thinking what this other person would think, but it's you actually channeling something through this particular lens. And I think the answers might be quite surprising, you know, that, and to me it's really is a how to say, the power of an image, that it is not only a useful image or something, but it actually changes what you can think or what you can arrive at. Super nice. And the playfulness is indeed very, very cool. I've been thinking a lot about this third place lately. You know, this thing that is in between. Even when you play very directly to spectators, when you're on the stage, you play directly to the spectators. There's this third thing in between that you can surrender to, and the audience spectators can just look without meeting anything really. They can just look completely into it. And you are not there, even though they are looking at you. Do you know what I mean? There is something else in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really helps this completeness of the surrender, both of the performer and of the spectator. If it wouldn't be there, things would get very embarrassing, and you actually have this encounter this sometimes when you think, why am I so embarrassed for this person on the stage?
Yeah.
Anyways, you have another clip.
Yeah.
Cool. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Yeah. About I think that was the answer to the question. If they, I don't know. It says nothing theoretical. So let's say
there is nothing theoretical. You know, everything was practical. We never thought about theory, about it should be like this.
I think the question was something. Did you in what style is your film made, or did you think before? Now this film has to be, I don't know, something like this. So
there is nothing theoretical. You know, everything was practical. We never thought about theory, about it should be like this because if the film, there is one technical reason that I already talked about. You know, the disregard of the bourgeoisie, to go to the plan séquence, to change his way of working. For the rest, he was trying to, like everybody does, you know, trying to adapt himself to his own idea of storytelling, plus all the obscurity around, you know, without losing the possibility from time to time to be obscure, to be dark, the way we all are. There are some moments I don't understand why I do this, why I'm answering you this, you know, I don't know. There is some obscurity. We all have an obscurity inside ourselves. We know it, and he knew it, of course, very well. And he wants all the time to leave to the Henri et Georgette the place to adapt their own zone of obscurity to his. You understand? To share not only the light, what is clear in a story, what is very, very easy to explicit, with what is impossible to explain. You know, that was more or less so there is no general theory. We are adapting, you know, every time the form of the story of the script to what we wanted to tell or to keep quiet, or to hide.
Yeah, the moderator stepped in too early, but he said in the end, no, we adapted the script to what we wanted to say or wanted to hide. That I like very much.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, this
very intriguing.
Yeah, also Buñuel as a figure is incredibly interesting. Like Jean-Claude Carrière, Catholic Catholic in the sense that he grew up in the south of Spain in a Catholic environment, as he himself said. It was medieval. It was medieval times at the beginning of 20th century. There was still in the south of Spain before the First World War, or even then afterwards, it was still medieval times. So, and then started the first cinema coming. So this is what he describes. Now suddenly modernity, but
crashes in.
But somehow these and then I don't know. He has Buñuel has a certain groundedness and a certain humor and a certain humility to himself, and at the same time is undogmatic and at the same time has a lot of like these personal obsessions. No, he is very, very personal films. So with a lot of things that you can find, you can distinguish a Buñuel film from others, no, like from other filmmakers also. So it's I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
You wanted to share a reflection also on the first clip.
Yeah, but the question was this. The question was this: is it possible to, if this was different, to be able to go, or this, to be able to go and focus on one thing together, working on one thing without any disturbance? No, you just go somewhere else into some south of Spain or wherever, and you are completely undisturbed and just work on this one thing. This is what haunts me, because I am since a lot of time dealing with a lot of things at the same time, and then there is this video, and then there is that interesting podcast, and then there is this, and you have so much things at the same time, and it's really difficult, if not even impossible at the moment, to focus on one thing, like for weeks or months. So is this different now, or was it always difficult?
Well, I think a lot actually, Simon, has to do with your personal circumstances. And it's not only a zeitgeist or a what we are all living. I mean, this became also so clear when the Corona crisis hit, that it hit us all so differently. There was no, you could not say all the artists are affected like this, because our situations are so different, that it really highlighted that to me. Like we are all affected by this same horrible thing, but it highlighted how different this is its impact. And you have taken on this very specific challenge of running a theater on a shoestring, with a bar and a family, and the studies that you are still also doing. So it stands to reason that you will have a very different time frames than others, who might have a comfortable job at a theater, and their only responsibility is to do this one thing.
Yeah, but even in the theater, I think that I don't know how many weeks they worked now on the script of. I think as far as I understand, Buñuel was also quite so he worked very shortly, But on the shooting, so Carrière says that they worked weeks on a script. So I don't know, but I know that in the theaters, it's also of course they have weeks for one performance, but it's a short time, and it's like da 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 da, and getting it done and pop. But
I think the writing always has had a different rhythm than the creation, and that.
Yeah, but I would now argue that for us, we need to. For me, that what they are doing, Buñuel, and this is the process of create. As I said, let's say for theater, the film script. This is one other thing that Carrière says. The film script, is a very strange kind of thing, because the script is normally afterwards thrown into the trash. So it's like a it's nothing stable. It normally does not become a book. It's just passing medium.
Yeah, it's instructions almost.
Yeah,
how to build this film, and then you're done.
Yeah, so it's different. And it's different also to the theater, where the theater texts always have been very important, and they have become books that you read. So it's very different. So I like to compare more this process of what they describe to the process what we do when we rehearse, because we create the script in the rehearsal.
Yeah, in that sense, yes. But the economics of rehearsing are, of course, very different than two people sitting writing.
That's true. That's true.
I think those always actors have struggled with this. Just the sheer production value of rehearsing. It's even if you compare this to, for instance, musicians. A symphony orchestra can make a new program in like a couple of days, and they do all the time, because musicians can practice at home and it works, and then you put it together. But for theater and dance, it's a problematic economic thing. Yeah, actually.
Yeah. This is, of course, the economic part that I know very well. That it's also it's. But so I think that maybe in the future, I would like to have the possibility in some moment to work to design also projects in that way, that you have this possibility of working like they describe, to also have parts in the work where you don't have any aim. No, you just train your mind or your body, or your mind and body together, improvising and enjoy.
In a way, the cross pollination. One of the things was to actually aim. Because usually when you come together as theater makers or performers, you are rehearsing something, and there's this need to produce within, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks if you're lucky, and this focus the work enormously, which is great in a way, but you also indeed lose this sense of just practicing, just training the collaboration, the imagination, getting this rhythm. And cross-pollination was very clear that is the level that we want to focus on. To be together for a stretch of time without the pressure of production. So that you can dive into this layer of repetition, of giving things space to emerge, that you don't know where they will go, where they will end up, but staying quite present in that, and having the ability to be critical even in that loose, almost timeless rolling of the days. And I think it's something that that might become more and more important. It came also in the first clip, this idea of practice. And it might be one key to relieve some of the pressures on the performing artist is to start to fund the practice rather than funding the results, which would be one way to open up this economic pressures a little on the rehearsals and on the time we spend together, because that's in essence what it is. Now, the time we are able to spend together in the studio. Yeah. And at the moment, this is confined to rehearsing for the biggest part. Yeah. Which I agree, it's a shame, because, and I think one aspect of third theater, this particular tradition, coming from or including the Odin Theatret and many others, names escape me for the moment, that have always put practice so firmly in the middle. is related to this, like a theater, as Eugenio described it, a theater that's not only concerned with producing, and leaving quite open what this other stuff could be, because why define it? Why put walls around it then? But creating space and time for yourself and for your group to be without needing to produce.
Yeah. And then we come to one of the... So now there is another clip from Carrière where he talks shortly about, and then afterwards I want to play a clip of the actual performance or of the film. So he talks about Mahabharata. And interestingly, if you look on Wikipedia or anything about Jean-Claude Carrière, you always find his collaborations with the filmmakers, and maybe a little bit, but you don't find his collaboration with Peter Brook, for instance, which I think is the longest one in years. And they worked together on some of the maybe most important performances of Peter Brook of the Théâtre Bouffe du Nord in France in the 70s or 80s. For instance, The Conversation of the Birds by the old Persian writer Fariduddin Attar, and also the Mahabharata. So, and yeah, what he says. I think he's asked what is his most endearing memory or something of the work.
The most difficult things I have made was the adaptation of the Mahabharata, the Indian epic with Peter Brook, both on stage and on film. And that's probably the month when the play was released in Avignon in 85. There was a month which was miraculous. Everything went together. It was the best show I have ever seen. And from time to time I realized that I had written it.
And so he's written it, and he realized, looking at it from time to time, that he has written it. And so I wanted to share one clip of the film. Actually, it is a very famous dialogue between Mahabharata is a history, a big history about it's an Indian epic, so it's a lot of stories bound together. Basically, a war between two families. And the gods are in between. It's a little bit like in Greece, but different. And in the center of the whole Mahabharata is the so-called Bhagavad Gita, which is a dialogue between the god Krishna and the warrior Arjuna. And this is at the site of a war, so the two families, or even two armies are battling against each other, but they're basically two families, but also warriors from the same side are on each side. So there is brothers fighting against brothers also, no? And Arjuna, the warrior, and this is the famous part. Of course, the whole Mahabharata is a big metaphor or a big allegory for something, whatever it is. And Arjuna, this warrior, says he sees his brothers there on the other side of the battlefield, and he says, he lays down his weapon and say, I don't want to fight. No, this is crazy. This is just crazy. This war is crazy, and I don't want to kill my brothers. And then he is talking with Krishna, and Krishna convinces him to fight. But the reason is this is the whole mystery also. This is the center of this piece, and this is this dialogue. And from that I want to come a little bit to storytelling, and I also have another little story for you, which I found in one of his books of Carrière. And then we will find a poetic ending maybe. So now this is the dialogue.
Arjuna has thrown down his bow and his arrows.
He has thrown down his bow and his arrows.
Why does he bow his head? Where is his wish to fight?
What is this mad and shameful weakness? Stand up and fight.
I'm in anguish. I can't see where my duty lies. Teach me.
What is Krishna doing?
He's speaking to Arjuna.
What is he saying?
He's telling Arjuna that victory and defeat are the same. He's urging him to act, but not to reflect on the fruit of the act. He says to him, seek detachment. Fight without desire.
You say, forget desire, seek detachment.
Yet you urge me to battle, to massacre. Your words are ambiguous, I am confused. Krishna tells him, don't withdraw into solitude. Renunciation is not enough. You must act, yet action mustn't dominate you.
In the heart of action, you must remain free from all attachment.
How can I put into practice what you are demanding of me? The mind is capricious, unstable. It's evasive, feverish, turbulent, tenacious. It's harder to subdue than taming the wind.
You must learn to see with the same eye a mound of earth and a heap of gold, a cow and a sage, a dog and the man who eats the dog. There's another intelligence beyond the mind.
Passion drags us away. Darkness dulls our senses. How can I find this intelligence? With what will?
To reply to this question, Krishna led Arjuna through the tangled forest of illusion. He began to teach him the ancient yoga of wisdom and the mysterious path of action. He spoke for a long time, a very long time, between the two armies preparing to destroy themselves.
Yeah, it's really worth watching it. I'm really sad that I could not see this live.
Yeah.
And I'm really impressed how the dialogue also works, how good it is made, how it's somehow it has a lot of pathos, no, a lot of grave words, seriousness, but at the same time it's never banal. The whole film, no, it never sinks into cliche or something. It stays also on it has a lot of humor to it, and it's an incredible work. The whole Mahabharata. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds incredible to make that into a film.
So, there is a book by Carrière which I like very much, which I come to often at the years ago, more often than now, but now I should look it up again. So it's a book with stories, with small stories. The book is called, I looked it up, it's in English, it's actually not, I think it's not published in English, which is very sad. But it's called, if I translate it, it's called The Circle of Liars, philosophical stories or philosophic stories of the whole world. No? And it is a great, great book with a lot of small stories of wisdom, let's say, no? Which has the great advantage of not being how to say, of not being esoteric, of not being a revelation of the truth or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It is a book. It's a very playful book. It even if I now, it's a curation of stories, really wonderful and also cruel stories and stories. So from Zen Buddhism, for instance, from Africa, from the Middle East, from Germany, even from USA, Jewish jokes from South America, now from the whole world, and the content, if I read it, is it's divided into categories. First category of the stories is the world is what it is, and then there's stories of that. No, and then second category, the world is not what it is. Third category, if everything is a dream, who dreams it then? Fourth category, the I, so the ego, is I cannot translate that. Sorry. So the ego is unclear and also maybe inexistent. And then also death. And seventh category, if things are as like they are, then you can choose knowledge. That is difficult, or you choose not knowledge or unknowledge. You choose ignorance. That's even more difficult. And eighth category, a good teacher can be very useful or not useful. Ninth category, the master begins by saying that we have to fight our desires. But is that sure? The 10th category is traps on the way of logic. And then...
Wow. Just the content, the titles alone are amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so these are like 300 stories of all these traditions. And you know what? I think I had now this. I don't know if you have some more input.
No,
because I talked a lot, but I think I really wanted to talk about Jean-Claude Carrière.
Yeah, fantastic.
And let's just end with a story that I now remembered that was in this book that I also told. I told to other people, so I tried to practice also storytelling. And in this book, it is called maybe one of the best stories in the world.
Wow, this man sounds amazing. I'm so sad. I only hear of him when he passes away.
Yeah,
but thank you for introducing.
Yeah, and maybe he will come back. I will bring some things sometimes. And in the end, so I will tell you the story, and then we say goodbye. And in the end, I will play another clip from the voices from Bruce Myers, an actor who also died, who was in the company of Peter Brook, and he is the voice of Krishna, which we heard just before. And there is a small story, which is called from the man Markandeya. It's a very short, very sad, very strange story, which I found now, which is also written in the Mahabharata universe by Jean-Claude Carrière, which we will listen to it in the very end. Yes?
Great. Okay.
So, so this story now I will partly read and partly just narrate. Carrière says one should read one should tell very slowly. And it's situated, it takes place in the Spanish Basque land. Yeah, land of Basque. And some people think it's the best story in the world. So, a tacit and calm peasant had 2 cows who were, who were eating grass?
Grazing.
Who were grazing on a meadow, and nothing else. So, peasant 2 cows. And then another peasant came by. He sat on a small wall, which was at the side of the meadow, and was silent for a moment. Because in that country, on the land, there the dialogues are very slow, no, very thoughtful and slow rhythm. After some time, the second peasant who came by asked, "Are the cows eating well?" Which of the 2 cows? Says the first. The second peasant, who is a little bit he doesn't really know how to interpret this question, he just says, "The white one." "The white one?" "Yes," says the first peasant. "And the black one?" "The black one, too." After this first dialogue, both men are not talking for some time. They are looking at the landscape that they know, the mountains, the village. The second peasant asks, "And do they give a lot of milk?" "Which of both?" says the other peasant, the first peasant. "The white one." "The white one? Yes." "And the black one?" "The black one, too." Again, silence followed that endured as long as the silence before. During this pause, the men didn't look at each other. They just were listening to the peaceful sound of the grazing cows. Suddenly, the second peasant interrupts the silence and says, "But why are you asking all the time, which of both?" "Because," says the first peasant, "the white one is mine." "Ah," says the second. The second thought a little bit, and then he asked, with a little hesitation, "And the black one?" "The black one, too." This is the story.
The best story in the world, huh?
Yeah. So it is an interesting guy. Was an interesting guy.
Yeah, very wonderful. Can you repeat the title of this book?
So I just translated into English, The Circle of Liars, but it's not published in English as far as I know. So maybe in German it's called Der Kreis der Lügner.
Right.
Or Le Cercle des Menteurs, something like this in French.
There is something called the Circle of Liars. But I think maybe the Circle of Liars is it a quote from somewhere?
I don't know.
In itself, the title.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just in French. It's called Le Cercle des Menteurs, Conte philosophique de tout le monde, or something like this.
Great. Well, thank you so much for introducing this wonderful voice and wonderful person.
Yeah, and Mariah, we will see each other in 2 weeks, and maybe with some guest or without, and we will see what happens in that time. Not much, maybe, I don't know. We just stay home.
We'll just stay home, meet in the White Room, and prepare for the Easter Village.
Yeah, exactly. And I always have to think before what should I say in the end of the podcast.
See you later.
See you later. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe or like us or recommend us or whatever, these kinds of things.
All of that. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Meet us next week. In 2 weeks again.
Yeah.
In the White Room.
And now I will let you out with this last piece of story.
Beautiful.
The story of Markandeya. So, goodbye.
Wonderful.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
A long time ago, all living creatures had perished. The world was no more than a sea, a grey, misty, icy swamp. One old man remained, all alone, spared from the devastation. His name was Markandeya. He walked and walked in the stale water, exhausted, finding no shelter anywhere, no trace of life. He was in despair, his throat taut with inexpressible sorrow. Suddenly, not knowing why, he turned and saw behind him a tree rising out of the marsh. A fig tree, and at the foot of the tree, a very beautiful, smiling child. Markandeya stopped, breathless, reeling, unable to understand why the child was there. And the child said to him, "I see you need to rest. Come into my body."